Now, the rest of the story.
Welcome back, guys. Good morning. 46 is sitting out in front of the milk house. I want to get that cleaned off, get that on the grain cart today. Pulling the 79 out of the shed because it's in the way, along with most of the other equipment. I'm gonna actually throw some fuel in it because the last time we used it was hauling that hay in from the valley. Should give it just a once over with the pressure washer. Dad waxed it. Dad was the last one to wash this. Waxed it up, and it's just the dust from sitting in the machine shed. But this will inevitably, if I could talk right, end up on that green cart, but it's also going to be on that easy trail wagon, and it's kind of up in the air right now which I'm going to do. Last couple years I've been putting the, oh, I got Dad asking what I'm doing. But now it's more good afternoon, good evening. I got a little bit of time before I gotta go pick up Relina. And today has been nothing but a move machinery around and more or less just getting through the last of everything. And soybean harvest is essentially just waiting to start, more or less when we get to it. Got to go through and grease everything. I'm gonna clean the windows, and the combine itself is 99% ready to go. I just have a few odds and ends that I'm trying to catch up on. One of them being this guy. Wow, I really messed that. I want to pull this into the shed. I'm going to grease the wagon, check the air pressure in the tires, and check the frame bolts, because last year I was noticing a little bit of play that not really sure if I'm happy with or I'm okay with, and I think all it's going to take to fix it is putting in a new bolt in. I'm figuring the bolt might be getting slotted out, but for what we're really looking at doing right now, soybean harvest, mainly the focus is on the carts so we can dump onto the truck and then just get it shipped and get it delivered. The wagon I want to have hooked up, largely because it never fails. You want to go through, you get the carts full, and say you only have a couple hundred bushels left to finish a field, or there's rain coming and you know you're going to be rained out for a few days, which is what they're calling for this weekend. So what I'm really looking at doing is, other than maybe shaving tonight, just having as much of our equipment hooked up so it's usable and quickly accessible. Because like having this is 500 bushels, and if you know you're gonna be rained out for a few days, I mean, why wouldn't you want to, you know, load the truck, load both the carts, load the wagon, and then it's not that big of a deal, set the auger up and run out. You know, this is a half a semi load right behind me, and the 7600 is our old, you know, horsepower workhorse tractor for pulling this wagon around. The 79 is on the green cart. The 4640, as you've seen, is on the red cart. Not really one to point fingers, but after washing the 4640 off here earlier, I'd come to think about it, I think Dale was the last one that actually ran that machine. So I think Dale was the last one to get it dirty, which means that his chariot awaits, and he'll probably be the one that gets it dirty now. Oh well. It's to the point we're hooking everything up, because as far as any jobs we have left to do at this point, the next job for any of these machines to do is harvest. So if we do get rained out, so be it. We're going to back everything in the shed anyway. And other than if I want to pull some bales home from the lower farm and mix up a load of feed, well, it won't take much to pull a pin and just go do that. But the cows are content-ish. I do have to start looking at pulling some home from the pastures, but I'll try to include you guys in on that. I'm hoping it's a non-event. A non-event is something that it doesn't take any extra energy for you to deal with. You literally just go and do it and, you know, proceed on with your day. And the one pasture, I've been feeding the calves, the cows, a random bucket of oats, of corn. You guys have seen the mix. And I've pretty much got it down for the last few times I've fed them, which is randomly. It's not like a consistently every other day or anything. And they see the bucket that I'm walking across the pasture with, and they come running. It doesn't take very much to shut the gate on them. So those guys, they're in the pasture. Their pasture's getting chewed down. That little bit of rain we got the other day isn't really going to do much for growth, and I think it's in my best interest to focus on getting them home by about the 1st of the month. And yeah, I think I'm getting my full use out of that pasture that way. Next year we'll probably have them out there a lot sooner, but it's more or less just trying to figure out what works best. So let me get this hooked up, pulled into the shed, and I don't know, maybe I'll wash some windows or something, or talk to you for a little bit. But it's been nothing but just one thing from the next as far as this day has gone, and it looks like that's just the way it's going to keep on being. Well, I'm about out of time for tonight, and it's kind of cool how that works. I just had to torch off a roll pin because it was causing me grief. I've ran it like that for the last 2 seasons. Granted, it's harmless, but that's fine. Harmless but annoying. And while torching this out, I noticed that I actually have to order new parts. Now, this was replaced 2 seasons ago, this little gear here, and you can see it is getting pointy. That's not how you really want it. It's originally supposed to be rounded, and when you use this, when this door has a bunch of corn back behind it, there's a lot of pressure against it. So when you go to open this up, or when I go and open this up, I'm usually grab over here, and then it takes a couple actual turns to like actually try to get this moving. Once you actually get it grain starting to flow, the pressure isn't nearly as bad, and you can actually get it started. And the issue I had here was, you can't really see it anymore, but the roll pin that was sticking through was sticking out far enough that I could only turn it about that far. Oh, apologies. That's where I torched it off. Kind of dirty, not pretty, but from the looks of the gear teeth, I'm gonna want to get another gear around, because those always fail on like the last load of the day or the first load of the day. Never when it's convenient, when you have just a little bit of grain or something in it. And we do use this wagon year round, so that being worn out, that really doesn't surprise me, because when we're pulling grain out of it over the winter, that one tooth is getting a lot of abuse. Now, I could go and rotate it and get a little bit of use out of this. And be honest with you, I shut the camera off. That's probably what I'm going to do, just from looking at it. It gets me a little bit more use out of this part. But having a spare on hand is always important. I did soak everything down with oil, so it does move freely. This wagon is done. It's greased. I checked the pins on it. I was actually concerned about the camera on it, because Ryan was, well, he used this wagon to go get a load of oats that he bought this summer, and he had it on the 7920, and he said that the camera wouldn't work. Well, I specifically made sure these are outdated. Oh, let's say they're outdated. Heck with it. They're older units that I have. They're the Halo views, and I specifically made sure that I got the same monitor as what's in the 76. I plan on doing the exact same thing with the 8235 because I have every intention of getting another camera and putting it on the back of the 569. And you know, I've really flirted around with the idea of, because the monitor's mounted pretty well permanently, you can take it out, whatever wrenches, in the 79, in the 76, but on the 79, it's only getting used when it's on this. But if I can go buy a couple more cameras, I could probably get creative and find some somewhere to put a camera on the corn planter. Number one, as always, like the number one go-to is to having a camera pointing straight out the back, just so you can see behind you that fertilizer tank right behind the cab. Yeah, the view is better behind the 7920 versus on the 4640. I mean, you sit a little bit higher, but just being able to glance over at a camera and knowing for certain that there's nobody tailgating you, it's a good peace of mind. I went through, all you have to do on the monitor is make sure everything is powered up. And Ryan said he turned the monitor on and it said nothing. Like there's no signal, no signal. So all you have to do is camera one, and this isn't gonna work, but camera one, hit OK and hold it, and it'll start oh, right there. So that was actually something I was going to address, but camera one is up in the corner of the wagon so I can see what's actually in it. Camera 4 did exactly that. I just hit the OK button and it hardly flashed, and it read the camera was putting out a signal out the back. So on the back of those cameras there's a button you can also push for pairing, and that's what I thought I had to do to make the rear view camera work, or the in-tank camera work. But this is super handy. This is what I typically do, is just the split screen, so I can see what's behind me when I'm going down the road, and also when we're filling them, so I can see if the wagon's, how full the wagon is getting. I've had times in the past where we're still harvesting when it's miserably cold out, where I'll jump back in the cab to stay warm, and I can at least keep an eye on how much grain is in the wagon so I can at least hop out and deal with that. But quick fixes are great. Simple fixes are even better. I'm hoping that's what the 82 is going to be, because the 82 has sprung a leak, and I'm hoping it's nothing super major. But all we got to do here is tighten the pin, the bolt on the pin, and this unit can stay hooked up until we're ready to go. I'm going to clean the cab, clean the windows on pretty much every machine that's on the farm right now. I did grease everything. These pins, I said I had to check these pins because I was worried. See this chain here? It has kind of gone back and forth here. There's a little bit of play, and I was concerned about that when I had noticed it last year. Checked everything over, and the bolts seem fine. I can tighten that down, but it's not going to do me any good because there is a little bit of play on the shaft and each of these bolt holes. See, it's worn out just enough to allow for that, and there's not much I can do other than weld it back up, but it's not really hurting anything. So I mean, heat it up and you'll melt it all back together, and it's gonna do the exact same job that it's still doing. And same thing on the back end here. I got it greased up, and this is actually still tight. So Dad bought this wagon. There was a twin. There was another wagon sitting up there right next to it, and I don't know, whoever had it before us, he went to all the work of, you know, running the wires with actual dedicated lines. I mean, whoever had it before us, I mean, took really good care of it. It's just, I almost wish we would have bought both of them, because I always say mobile storage is great. We're using them actually more often for feed throughout the winter. We're feeding more cattle, and having options to put grain into is certainly nice when we're feeding cattle over the winter. And I've said it in the past, I'll say it a million times more. It is really nice having somewhere to go. Just mobile storage, where when you're harvesting corn, beans, we've done it countless times over the years, where you're just about done with a field, or there's rain coming and you just want to fill everything up because you're going to be out of the field for a few days anyway. So to heck with, who cares if you got to set the auger up and it's a little soggy out. I mean, at least you got that much more done. So I still have my eyes open out. I'd love to get another 500 bushel wagon, another 600 or 700 bushel wagon, if I can put the 79 in front of it and go back to running the 76 on this one. It'd be one of those things where I could at least park a wagon, they could fill it while I'm bringing another wagon up and emptying it out, which I can outpace them pretty good right now as it is. But again, if it wasn't for that, an Underfirth or a Brent wagon with a tarp and all the extra stuff doesn't really mean much, but having another wagon with a tarp on it, largely just for soybeans. The 82, I was going to start with this, but I got to go feed cows, and I've run out of time tonight. Sprung a leak on Ryan when he was finishing up the other day. Of course, you guys can't see anything I'm looking at. It's leaking down on this from the seam on SCV1. And there's 4 Allen screws holding it on, as far as I can tell. And I'm going to do some exploratory surgery myself, because, well, right there, guys. Gee, what'd I just say about quick, simple fixes? Doesn't that irritate a guy? I haven't touched this. I haven't done anything with this yet. You guys with me starting to maybe draw a conclusion as to why there's a little bit of oil leaking out of this? So here's the next question. Does the guy take both these out and check to see what that O-ring looks like? Or do you just tighten that to no end and say she's field ready? Because this tractor, going forward, only has 2 real... What are the chances? Oh, you son of a... I'm trying to try not to swear. It's a 4-letter word, though. Look at that. Yes, my pretty nails. Look at that. They're loose. Well, no wonder it's leaking. Good grief. Tighten that up, and for how subtle it was leaking, Ryan showed me how much it was leaking. I'm almost going to say tighten the crap out of it and see if it leaks. I mean, because it's the bottom SCV that's doing it. And not risk taking that bottom one off. I don't know if they're connected. Like right here, it looks like they might be in a stack. But yeah, the farmer in me is going to say tighten it back down and see if it leaks. If it doesn't leak, I'd say problem solved. We did have an issue a few years ago where that whole stack has a O-ring on it. Back up above, this whole mess here. It blew an O-ring out on the base here, and we had to drop the 3-point, the top link down, pull this piece off because there's a bolt. One of the bolts is back in here that you actually have to take out, that goes straight up through all that mess and helps hold that stack down. But no, I'm glad that you guys helped me find that, because that's the first I've looked at it today. All this tractor has to do from here on out is run the round baler and make 300 or 400 fodder bales, get it cleaned up, and we'll be putting it on the deer chisel plow and turning dirt with it. Largely, yeah, until we get a bigger grain cart where it justifies running the 82 on it. Not much point in putting it on a cart when the 4640 handles that red one all right. And then that way, that's the 46's dedicated job until we decide to chisel with it at the end of the year. But with that, I'm gonna call it quits. Quitting while you're ahead, because if I can fix that right away in the morning, I got the vet coming tomorrow afternoon. Probably clean some windows, pretty some stuff up, clean stuff up. I got to grease both the carts, the bean head, the 82, the 79, and the 46. The 7600 is done. Filters have been gone through. If it rains here in a few days, I'll change the oil on the deer steer. But day after tomorrow, it's looking like we might be trying to cut some beans. So with that, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, ding the little bell down below if you want to keep watching the rest of the story. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.